Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Voices for Change 2.0, the only podcast that focuses on mental health while mixing in movies, music, books, sports, and pop culture. Here are your hosts, Rebecca and Joe Lombardo.
Hey everybody, welcome to Voices for Change 2.0. We are so glad to have you with us today.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for spending some time out of your busy Saturday, if you're listening live, to hang out with us and listen to us. And
some great weather. We've been sent good weather.
Oh, don't start that now.
All right, that was directed specifically at the Handmaid's Tale friends. If you like it, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not going to. I like the show, but no, I'm not going to humor on that one. Sorry, not today.
Oh my God.
Yep. So, but no, it is. It's at least in the Detroit area, it's really nice out today. Kind of hoping that I can take advantage of the nice weather a little bit. You know, it's not too hot yet. It's a pretty day. Hopefully it won't be all rainy. I know it rained earlier, but you know. So we got a busy day ahead of us.
We've got two shows today, back to back, one at 11 and one at 12.
Yep.
And we're really excited about it. It's kind of our little contribution to Mental Health Awareness Month / Mental Health Awareness Week. Mm-hmm. Wherever you're from, it varies. But we're just excited to get them on to talk a little bit about what they've been up to. So
yeah, and our first guest is a repeat offender. It's her second time here, and we're very excited about that. And then our second guest, she'll be about the 12 o'clock hour.
Mm-hmm. William Dickerson.
William Dickerson, yes, director of the movie No Alternative. Great movie. You know, we checked it out, and you know, just it's interesting because it's a kind of a, you know, it's funny, you say period piece and you think of, you know, like,
it's supposed to be set in the 90s.
Yeah, it's set in the 90s, 1994 specifically, you know, and it's funny because you know, like those of us that are of that generation, you know, we're watching this and going, wow, yeah, that's accurate. Yep, that's how things. Yep. Mm-hmm. You know, but you know, interesting subject matter. Definitely addresses concepts like suicide, and you know, it's definitely a good watch, and you know, it's available now. But we'll get into more of that later on when we talk with William. For now,
let's bring in our guest.
Yeah, let's bring in our guest. So she is, like I said, a repeat offender. She's been here before, and
she's an advocate and a blogger.
Yep, and a lovely, lovely person.
Yes, and she's going to be, I don't know if it's started yet or it's going to be starting. I read over the notes that she will be starting a podcast of her own.
Which is exciting.
Yeah, always exciting. We love to help people get their names out there when they're first beginning, because I know how difficult it was for us.
Yep.
So, but we have Scott now, so all things are better. But
things are good.
Yep. So anyway, please welcome to the show for today, Anneli Roberts.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me back. I mean, I enjoyed talking to you guys so much last time. I just couldn't get enough.
Well, you know, we're irresistible. So.
Yeah. You are.
Oh, thanks. So, how you been?
How are you? Oh, I've been good. I've been really good, actually. Things have been very strange since I last spoke to you guys. I think it was November when I spoke to you guys, and I've had a massive kind of, yeah, it is. And I've had a period of kind of quite a relapse into PTSD since then. But then this year so far, 2019 so far, has been good for me. So how about you guys?
We've not gonna lie, it's been ups and downs.
It's definitely ups and downs, and more downs than ups, unfortunately. But
yeah,
you know, we're getting through it.
We're pushing through.
We're a team, and we like to try to work things out on our own. If it becomes too big for us to handle, then we'll find a professional or something. But we really just I put a lot of effort into the blog and the podcast, and what else? And the possibility of me writing a second book, that might be another thing to tie me up. And I'm taking all these online courses too, so I'm busy. But
that's good. That's good.
There are days when it doesn't matter what I have to do; I still can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
So it's incredibly frustrating, but it's hard to remember that you're doing the best that you can.
Yeah.
It
is. That's the toughest part. And I don't know if you go through this, Anneli, but Beck has a tendency at times to beat herself up over it, and I have to always kind of remind her, hey, you got to take it a day at a time, and if all you can do today is breathe, then okay, then that's what you're doing today.
Yeah, I absolutely do go through that too, and I think we spoke about this last time as well. How I try to remind myself that any kind of mental health problem is very much, it's a dangerous thing to go through, and I just see it as almost a near-death experience, and sometimes it's just my job to survive. And I think it's important to remember that, because it's so easy to beat yourself up, especially when you see other people kind of seemingly functioning.
Right. That's
you.
the hardest part. That's the hardest part for sure.
Yeah.
People that have your same diagnosis that have gone out and done whatever they could possibly do, don't. And those people are sort of a double-edged sword, because I'm really happy for them and grateful that they have all this knowledge now, and they're self-aware and they can take care of themselves. But then you've got the people on the other side that are like, well, if you're better, then you should be doing this and this and this and this. Oh, and why aren't you exercising? And why aren't you eating better? And do the laundry. Da 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 da. So.
It's so annoying, isn't it? It's like people don't say this to people who have kind of physical illnesses. You don't. The illnesses that we've all come to accept as serious, and I think you've got. This is a very serious illness as well, and people are doing what they can, and you just use that phrase as well. You see other people doing what they can, and I mean, you're doing what you can, so that's what matters.
Yeah, it's everybody's experience is different. That's
absolutely
the one thing to really bear in mind and take away is that just because you're maybe thriving and coping at this window of time, and the next person isn't, that's two different journeys, and if you're not thriving right now, it can be hard seeing somebody that is thriving, and you tend to beat yourself up and feel badly, and
why can't I do that kind of thing?
Right, where's my disconnect? Why are they able to do this and I'm not? And it's not a matter of that. We all, it's like it is like a physical disease where say two different people are battling some form of cancer, and it's the same form of cancer, and one of them goes into remission and one of them struggles to overcome it, and maybe they do and maybe they don't. And that's a tough pill to swallow, but that's life, and it sucks.
Oh yeah, and I mean, here in the UK, it's certainly become one of, if not the biggest killer. It's certainly the biggest killer of young people. Is mental illness. And the fact that people don't take it seriously is, ludicrous to me. It's so wild. I can't get my head around it at all. Anything else that was this kind of pandemic, kind of sweeping the nation or the globe, there'd be an uproar about it, and yet it's still kind of brushed under the rug quite a bit.
Yeah. That's the hard thing about it is, we're just now getting to a point where it's socially acceptable to talk about it, but there's still a lot of stigma surrounding it.
Yeah, I was talking the other day about I wasn't sure whether the stigma was getting better or I had just blocked everybody that that was tormenting me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to tell.
And so it's very peaceful on Twitter for me right now. I don't get involved in any fights, and I don't say controversial things, and I just kind of get on there and read my notes and go.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that people are starting to realize that we're kind of all in this together. We're all kind of rowing the boat in the same direction, and maybe hopefully some of the trolls out there are starting to realize maybe they need to be a little bit nicer about things so they're not.
I don't think it's so much that. I think that they're not getting the responses that they had hoped for.
It could be, or they're getting blocked.
That's just my opinion, but they don't end up in a big damn fight and horrible things said back and forth. I think that they're just happy to be able to go on, say their piece, and then leave without having to answer for what they've said.
Yeah.
I've dealt with that a couple of times.
Yeah. So, well, we're going to dive into our questions a little bit here, Anneli, and see what we can see. So.
Okay.
Oh, you want me to start with that one? You want me to start with the other one? Okay. So you mentioned, after we talked back in November that you went through a bit of a tough time, but now you're doing better. Do you feel as if you're in recovery, and do you worry about relapse?
I firmly don't believe in a 100% recovery for me. I know maybe some people have achieved that. I don't see it as something. I think I'll always be on this journey, and I've kind of made a bit of peace with that, I think. So do I see myself as recovered? No. At the minute, I'm managing. I don't think that is any, reflection of my resilience or skill set. I mean, a certain amount I've learned, but a lot of it will be that I'm just feeling a bit better at the minute as well. So am I in recovery? I would say no. It's a very difficult question, though. I just don't think, I have PTSD. I don't think that you can never reset my brain now. So I don't think that while my behaviors and my symptoms might be slightly less right now, the triggers will always be there. And I think a lot of it can be circumstantial for me because of that. Some things are always going to trigger me, no matter how good I'm feeling. Some things are always going to frighten me and send me back there. So, that's where I'm at.
Let me ask this real quick before I forget what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Can I ask you, it's sort of more of a personal question, but how do you deal with a situation where supposedly on Tuesday you have a really bad day and you're crying and you're frustrated and you're a mess and you can't go out anywhere with friends or whatever, you just want to stay home and be by yourself, and then Friday comes along and you're okay enough to go out and people are like, nothing's wrong with her, she's fine. Have you ever experienced that?
Not to my face, actually, but I'm very, very, very particular about who I socialize with now. I'm in the fortunate position where my family are very understanding, because I think that's the one thing, people can't really, a lot of people feel as though they can't choose to walk away from family in particular. But I know that must be a really difficult thing to deal with. I don't have those people in my life. I'm very.
Well, that's
I'm
good.
not
That's really
fortunate
good.
that I've cut a lot of people out. I've
Yeah.
had to just be really careful who I associate with.
Well, I accidentally started to read the comments on a page, and I got to like the fourth or fifth one telling this girl how fat she was or whatever. I was just like, I'm done. I am done. I have learned my lesson. No more comments unless it's something I posted, because it's ridiculous the way people treat each other. And we have an amazing mental health community on Twitter. Everybody is very supportive, and I haven't had too many difficulties whatsoever, but not everybody can get to that information or thinks that it's as helpful as I do. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh God, the community on Twitter is incredible. Social media gets a really bad rap sometimes, but I think it's one of the most supportive places on the internet, for sure.
Yeah, it can be. It can be absolutely great. It can be completely terrible at times. But for us that are in this mental health community, especially on Twitter, we've really become, a tight-knit group, and that's, it's almost a refuge. You know what I mean? It's just, that if you are putting something out there, you might get some negative comments here and there, but for the most part, the responses you're going to get are going to be from people that you consider friends and are just treating you awesome, and they're supportive, and that if you're having a tough time, that they're going to be there, and that's really nice.
It is.
So would you say?
I feel as though the community on Twitter has probably saved my life multiple times. Maybe not directly, but there have been so many times when I've been down and turned to them, and there's always something uplifting to see, and I just really enjoy, even if I'm not particularly active a certain day, I'm quite often just on there, having a look, and it's nice to see people lifting each other up. It's very inspiring.
Yeah. I'll do a similar thing where, maybe I'm not posting a bunch of stuff, but I'll see something that kind of hits a nerve or whatever, and I'll retweet it, and I'll throw Beck's hashtag in with it, and just to throw some more attention to what the person said, and I'll do that, a bunch, every so often.
Are you familiar with Keep Talking MH?
With the hashtag.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I am familiar with it. Yeah, I am. I didn't realize it was your hashtag.
Yeah,
she.
Well done. I had it registered and everything.
Yeah, that's
I see it
that's
all the time. That's impressive.
Yeah, that's my baby. That's my Beck. That's her little creation. So, we're both real pleased that it's taken off as much as it has, and it's good. I think it's helping bring the community together a little bit too. Not to toot a horn or anything, but
no, toot away. I think you're right.
But yeah. So, I was going to ask something, and I can't remember what the heck.
Sorry, that's probably my fault.
It's your fault. I'm going to blame you.
All right, well, I'm going to go to the next question, okay?
Okay, you go to the next question.
Sit there and stew.
I'm going to stew. You ask your question.
Okay.
All right.
How much support have you received from your family and friends?
Practically, probably not very much, but they're all very supportive people. I'm not very good at asking for help and at receiving help. And I think that a little bit of the burden has to be on the receiver, Someone would have to absolutely bang down my door for me to accept help. And obviously, it's hard to ask for help. I do try to reach in with other people and kind of lead the way in demonstrating the kind of help I'd like to receive. but they are supportive. There's no negativity. I think it's just that they don't always know how to support me. So it would be unfair of me to say that they're unsupportive. And a few individuals have been, very good at kind of listening to me and things like that. But there have been times when I've been really struggling, and I'm not one for always alerting people to that. So I suppose hit and miss there.
It can be tough, for various reasons. So I know even, Beck and I, we have a really, really good relationship and, good open lines of communications, but there'll even be times where she'll be struggling and she doesn't necessarily want to say anything to me because she feels, I don't know, like she's being a burden or a bother or something, and I have to remind her that, well, no, we're a team, we're in this together. So if you're having a bad time and you're struggling, don't be afraid to say something. And she's gotten better with that, but it can be really difficult. I go through my own struggles, and, sometimes I just, as much as I might want to reach out and say something, I'm also aware of everything, all the chaos that's going on in our life, and I feel like if I do say something, to Beck or whoever else, that, I'm like throwing gasoline on the fire, and I'm afraid of doing that. And it's something, like you said, the person receiving the help, some of the burden needs to be on them, and it's being able to make peace and be able to say, well, I don't want to, give you more stress, but you need to know this is what I'm going through, and at least just to get it off your chest. That's a big thing. Yeah, and it is scary. It's scary, and it's interesting that you say sometimes, you feel like the circumstance isn't always right or the timing isn't always right. And there are so many times when, you finally feel like you want to reach out to someone and they might not be ready to hear it as well. It's a two-way thing, isn't it? So they might be busy or dealing with something, and a negative response isn't always a negative response. Sometimes it's just somebody else not being able to cope with your truth at that moment. And it's hard. It makes it hard.
That's what I tell people on Twitter all the time and on the show, is that if you're considering using Twitter as, a safe haven for your emotions, I would caution you with that, because it's not because people are trying to be rude. It's just that they either don't have the answers, or they're not around to get in this big long conversation with you, or, the person might have asked the questions, got answers, and didn't like the answers, so they went to somebody else. So that kind of thing happens all the time. So I'm proud of the fact that the mental health community has kept up with trying to support others, because you can't always get exactly what you need from that one conversation.
Oh, no, absolutely not. It would be unreasonable to expect every single person to be able to answer your questions at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. So, Anneli, how about you tell us about your blog and your upcoming podcast?
Right. So, a podcast series that was a mental health awareness podcast series, and it got me, some award nominations, and I thoroughly enjoyed recording them. And then I took a bit of hiatus from that last year when my PTSD hit really bad, and it became a source of pain for me rather than comfort. And I think it always had been a little bit. I was working on it with one of my oldest friends from school, and mental health has always been my passion, and she perhaps she was doing it to support me rather than because it was her passion, so it was always a bit of a drag on her. And it was kind of a source of, it became something where I felt obliged to put the content out weekly, and it was putting a lot of pressure on me, and I was burning out all the time. It didn't feel comfortable or natural for me to be doing it. I can't quite put my finger on why, really. Even now, I've done quite a amount of soul searching, but it did get me, I had some awesome conversations with people, and some of what I learned was, really groundbreaking for me. I had some breakthrough moments. I spoke to some of the people with PTSD, and it really lifted me in some ways. But also having those conversations when I wasn't feeling ready to have them and I didn't feel emotionally equipped to deal with them was harming me. So I took a break, and I looked back at all the work I've done, and, some of it I'm really proud of, some moments in the podcast, but also what I realized when I looked back was that my mental health has become more all-encompassing than just mental health for me. There's a lot of social justice and things like that I've been working on campaigning towards, things like period poverty, women's rights. There's been a lot of men's mental health, etc. And I'm very interested in kind of the human experience as a whole now, and how people treat each other, how that feeds into our mental health, and how we treat ourselves. I'm kind of so I was almost going to go back to that podcast and try and rebrand it, but then I thought, no, I'll leave that where it is, and that's a particular chapter of my awareness campaigning and my journey, and I'll go for something new where I can move it into the direction I've naturally veered towards anyway. So what I'm planning is a collection of conversations with different people about their lived experience, and particularly some of the voices that I feel aren't being heard as much. And I look at the mental health community and I think, God, I almost I see all these people around me who are so incredible and are campaigning so hard for their, pockets of knowledge, and they're doing so incredibly well. And a lot of the voices are still not being heard enough. And I look back at my own podcast, and even though I was, campaigning for something good, and I do believe that what the work I did was good, I'm not proud of the narrow sliver of humanity that I featured on the podcast, not deliberately, but everybody was able-bodied, everybody was straight. Well, not everybody was straight, but the majority of people were able-bodied, white, straight people. And I don't want to fight the fight. Is that by the time we've won it, it's only taken forward to people born into privilege anyway. I think it's very much something where I want to help everybody on an absolutely equal platform get the access to the treatment they need. I want to highlight some issues that maybe aren't being heard enough, etc. So that's a very long-winded explanation of where this podcast is going to go. But I'm feeling very excited about it. So maybe less mental health awareness and more kind of the human experience, but does our mental health not really feed into all of that anyway?
Very true.
Yeah. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice over here as per usual. We're going to take a quick break, actually, and we'll catch you on the other side. This is, I can't read it, Brian Justin Crum with Circles.
Maybe I should just keep running. I think I got a chance if I can get away. Yeah, we got a monsoon coming back. Too close to me. Don't tell me that it's nothing but this. With your girl in your ear all night. our bodies alright, oh. We go over and over again till we don't wanna try. Love this time will be different though. We go over and over again, we just can't get it right. One more time till we let this go. Circle. Can't get it right. One more time till we let this go. Circle. Run, run, run. We go over and over and over. Right circle. Run, run, run. Go. Right circle.
Hey, welcome back to Voices for Change 2.0. I'm Joe. She's Rebecca. And on the line, we've got the lovely and talented Anneli Roberts from the UK. And it's funny because both of our guests last week were from the UK. Mm-hmm. And now we've got Anneli. And I don't think William's from the UK, though.
No, I don't think he is.
So we're going to break our streak.
Yep.
So.
Oh.
So talk to us a little bit.
What was that?
I was saying there's quite a big mental health community over here in the UK. It's quite active.
Yeah, it's incredible, you know, and the amount of people that we've talked to from over there that are involved in mental health, they're amazing, and they're amazing people. We love every time we get to talk with someone from across the pond. It's our joy.
So can you tell us a little bit about your blog? And
we already asked that, babe.
We did?
Yes, we did.
But I have additional information written here.
Oh, ask the additional information you have written then.
Excuse me. Tell me about, I'm losing my voice.
You are losing your voice.
Tell us about Pigletish. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, that is correct. Pigletish. So it's a mental health awareness website that I started. Predominantly, it's a blog. And it started as me documenting my own journey to recovery. And it became very clear to me quite quickly that it was something people wanted to hear about. I had a lot of colleagues and friends come forward, kind of say, oh, this is how I feel, you've made me feel less alone, which then spurred me on to write more. And so now I kind of spend a lot of time writing for that.
So that's just pigletish.com?
It is, yeah. Named after the A.A. Milne Piglet character.
Oh, I've always wondered that and never got the opportunity to ask you.
Yeah, like, and I get that. You know, I mean, Piglet was, actually I loved Piglet. The whole Winnie the Pooh thing was kind of big in my formative years. So, you know.
I think Piglet had PTSD.
You think so?
Yeah.
Very possibly.
You know, it's really funny if you actually think back on all the different characters, and they're all different. They represent different aspects of mental health. You know, like Eeyore with his, you know, being depression, and Tigger, you know,
he's always manic.
Yeah, always bouncing off the walls and everything. It's actually rather kind of interesting concept if you look at it from, you know, the point of view of adulthood.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a great way to introduce all those things to children through such cute little stories. But I really identified with Piglet when I was younger. I really felt well represented in that neck of the woods.
Definitely,
Yeah.
I think that we've got to get kids ready earlier on
Yeah.
to be able to deal with these type of situations. Somebody in your class
Absolutely.
maybe has, what am I looking for?
You know, they're dealing with different things, and maybe they're dealing with PTSD because of events that are going on at home.
Autism, that's the word I was
You know,
looking for.
maybe they're dealing with autism. You know, maybe they're
And just teaching kids compassion and hopefully it would help them grow up into a compassionate adult. I mean, that might be a pipe dream, but that's what my hope is. That I started a petition, but it's actually hasn't been responded to in quite some time. But I was looking to try to get one mental health awareness class every week in all high schools.
Yeah, I almost think it needs to start earlier than that though too. I
didn't know how to go as deep into it with younger kids.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to freak anybody out or upset any parents or anything.
Yeah. But yeah, the definitely bringing that education to children. I think they're on the right track with this anti-bullying thing that's been going on for a few years, but I don't think it extends enough into treating with compassion somebody who may be dealing with tough times at home because they're being abused or they're being this or that, so they're suffering with PTSD or they're suffering with depression, various other situations like that. It's just more could be done, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Do they do anything like that over in the UK with the educational system, Anneli?
I'm not the biggest expert on it, and I hear that things are getting better. There is quite a big push for it at the minute, although I'm not sure how much of actual official mental health kind of education there is. I don't think very much. There certainly was none as I was growing up. And it's absolutely something that needs to come in a lot sooner in people's lives.
Yeah, we agree. We didn't have it when we were growing up either. And, Beck's been wrestling with it since she was 19. And, I think if it was talked about as maybe part of a health class or something in high school, that would certainly...
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because a lot of schools don't have the funding to be able to start a new program or to have people come and speak. So do it in health class. I mean, they teach you about your period and using condoms and stuff like that. Seems like sex falls hand in hand with that.
Yeah, you're going through so many changes in high school, and you don't know what the hell's going on, So being able to have somebody come in and not only do the sex education, but also being like, okay, there might be times when you feel this way, or might be times when you're going through that, and this is possibly what's going on. Just having that bit of education would really, I think would really go a long way.
Absolutely.
How do you feel? How do you feel about the stigma surrounding mental illness? Do you think we're doing enough? Is there anything that we're missing the boat on that maybe we should be doing? What do you think, Anneli?
I think that humanity is not doing enough. I think that the mental health advocates are doing what they can, and I think it's so difficult, isn't it? I think that there's no... Oh, what a question. I think we're doing what we can. I think that the burden needs to be on the kind of the businesses, particularly money-making businesses. Mental health, promoting good mental health among people does not really go hand in hand with making a lot of money, because, you know, you need better workers' rights and so forth to try and support people. And also, you know, our mental health would be better if they didn't constantly try and sell us stuff and just actually, I think that there's a big focus on possessing things as a society. And I think we need to move away from that and consider how we treat each other more important than what we own. Obviously, that's not conducive with a big capitalist society and making money, and it's a difficult one where I think it's going to take some drastic changes to make the awareness come from the people it should be coming from. Because it actually annoys me a little bit where I see big corporations who are not practicing what they preach, trying to raise awareness. The marketing messages about mental health, brilliant if it's coming from an ethical organization who are working with their employees and their customers and trying to improve things, particularly with their employees. But if it's coming from somewhere, you know, where like just a blanket, you know, it's just a PR tick box exercise, then I find it highly annoying.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
I agree. You know, there's, you know, the conversation over here in the States right now, and this is going to be a hot button issue going into 2020 with the presidential election and all of that, is a concept called Medicare for All, which is basically universal health care. And, you know, I'm not going to talk too much about it. We try and avoid politics on the show. But I will say that, you know, it's my personal belief that anything medical should not be a for-profit situation. You know, people should not be getting rich off of the suffering of other people. I find that unconscionable. You know, it bothers me. You know, I don't remember reading anything in the Bible where Jesus took copays. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It just bugs me, you know, and so that's a big push over here. And, you know, I know you guys have the NHS over there, and, you know, we've gotten varying degrees from people we've talked to of, you know, how beneficial it's been for them, how it's worked out, you know, or things they've had to wait on and different things like that. What's been your experience with that?
Well, in general, the NHS has served me very well for my physical health. But yeah, mental health-wise, it's definitely been lacking for me. I think there are certain illnesses that there's maybe more help for. I think there's if it can be medicated, they will medicate you. And interestingly, I do sometimes wonder if, you know, medicine wasn't so profitable for the big companies, would there be better access to therapy, etc.? Like, why are we having it pushed on us? It's just obviously it's beyond my comprehension anyway. Though it's like definitely over my head. But it does make you kind of question. There's so many people out there who kind of want therapy, etc. And would we have more of a focus on therapy than meds if meds didn't make them money? You know, therapy costs money, and medication certainly for the NHS. And medication, of course, it's free for people in Wales, but people in England pay for their prescriptions. But globally, the pharmaceutical companies make money off medication, but you'd nowhere near make that kind of money off providing therapy for people, would you?
Right, exactly. You know, it's funny. I'll mention this and then we can move on. But you know, there was a video I watched the other day of a freshman congressman over here. I don't know if you're familiar with her or not, but her name is.
Are you familiar with her?
I'm blanking on her first name, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I couldn't get the Alexandria part out. And she was, for lack of a better word, grilling this pharmaceutical CEO and asking him about this particular medication that they make. And she's like, why is it, someone here in the United States, when they buy it, it costs $2,000 for this thing, but then you go over, and she mentions some other country, and she says it costs $8. And it's things like that it grates on me that, I understand money needs to go into research, and money needs to go into, different things, and obviously marketing. They have to market these pills when they come out and stuff, but it seems like the pharmaceuticals are going above and beyond to get rich as quickly as possible on our backs. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. Well, it does. It feels very much like it's all about how much money they can make, and not very much about how much they can help people. And you shouldn't really have to market pharmaceuticals, should you? If they fix something, why does it need a big marketing campaign?
You know
Surely
why? Because
the fact that it works should be enough.
You would think that, but there's a lot of stupid people in the world, and they actually have to take the medication, say it's Prozac, okay? And they read on the commercial for Prozac, they say, please do not take Prozac if you are addicted to Prozac.
Well, that is, you have medical things advertised to you in America in a way we don't have that over here. We don't have medical adverts. The doctors, you can only get, the medicine that your doctor prescribes you, and they're not advertised. And whenever I come to America, it does always, you've got those adverts that have the terms and conditions at the end, and we just don't have that here.
That's wild. Yeah, you watch a commercial.
So interesting to me.
You watch a commercial over here, and they're like, it'll fix this, but because it'll fix this, this will go wrong with you, and that'll go wrong with you, and your butt's gonna fall off, and your elbow's gonna go the wrong way. It's like, well, gee, do I really want to take that?
Yeah, it's scary.
It's insane, the times that we're living in. I'm telling you.
Well, we're getting down to the wire here. Excuse me. So, what is coming up next for you?
Well, so I have this new podcast that's going to be launched, and I'm trying to find a way at the minute to kind of be able to tour the UK a little bit, in terms of not like a rock star, just in terms of being able to get around more and actually meeting some of the people I'm having these conversations with, and doing it face to face, and getting to sit down with them and create some really good content. I'll also be going back to YouTube shortly and making some videos there, because I did dabble, but I found it a lot of work, and I'm hoping to go back to that. And my main plan is to take things in small chunks and not burn out. So everything I'm going to be doing is looking at kind of an 8-week run of a certain type of content, and then a break for myself, so that I don't end up overcommitting.
Right.
That's a really good idea, and I think that speaks to self-care a little bit, because you're doing it in bite-sized chunks. Okay, I've got this limited amount of time, so you're not, how much effort you want to put into it, and how much thought and all that, and it doesn't overtax you. That's an important thing. And that's
absolutely.
The podcast sounds really exciting. I got to admit, I'm intrigued to hear, where you're going with it and what you do. And
when you've got it set up, just shoot me a message, and we can bring you on here again to kind of hype it up a little bit if you like.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to do that. I'd also would absolutely love to have you on as well. That would be something that would be an honor.
Oh, we'd be honored.
Yeah, we'd love to do that.
Absolutely. So, I like that you're going, for more of a human experience versus just concentrating on mental illness. This all kind of goes hand in hand, and I think that, it's important to shed light on all aspects, just so we can grow.
Mhm.
Yeah, when I started doing my mental health awareness work, I wasn't aware that there was a community around it. I wasn't aware that there were. I just thought, oh, I'm going to talk about this, and I need to talk about this. I didn't know that there were other people doing it, and I didn't know that there were other people doing it so well. And now I think it's grown, and there are so many people who are. I've seen so many new people come into the scene since I've been doing it as well. And it's grown so rapidly, and I feel almost like, okay, like, you guys have got this. I can step into this, if that makes sense. Like I feel like this is in very safe hands. Not that I ever owned it in the first place, but I feel like I'm a perfectionist. It's like, okay, this is in safe hands. I can, if I go in this direction a little bit, nothing's going to collapse. I don't have to always be doing everything myself. I can ask for help, and yeah.
Exactly. That's a huge thing. Knowing that you've got that kind of support, and also knowing that you've got all these other advocates out there that like I said earlier, we're all rowing the boat in the same direction. And I think that's great.
Yeah.
We need a bigger boat.
We might need a bigger boat.
Mhm. We need a bigger boat.
So
we all love a good Jaws reference.
Where can people find you on social media there, Anneli? What are your different spots?
Well, Twitter is the platform that I'm active on, and I'm just at Pigletish, which is Pigletish, and that's where it's probably best to catch me. I'm also on Instagram at piglet.ish, because somebody else already had Pigletish. And Twitter, Twitter's definitely the best place to get me.
Okay.
I'm very talkative on there, and I like to chat to people. I don't like to just put things out into the ether. I like to actually engage and have people talk to me and to learn more about them as well.
That's very cool. Yeah, we love seeing your stuff on there, and retweeting it and engaging, and Twitter. Again, what we said before, Twitter gets a bad rap on stuff, but being able to have these different conversations, or what's really cool that I've kind of seen is you'll see a post from somebody and they're struggling, and right away, that gives you the opportunity to prop them up, or right before you can say something to prop them up, somebody else chimes in with, hey, you got this going on, you're great, blah, blah, blah. And it's just super supportive, and
yeah.
That everywhere.
You can't get that everywhere, I can't get it on Facebook anymore, that's for sure. Facebook isn't bad per se, but there are certain, I've learned over time, there are certain things you don't talk about on Facebook that you talk about on Twitter,
It's that algorithm on Facebook. Everything I see whenever I log in, which is very rare, is just news articles or, recipes that are very questionable looking and take maybe 30, those 30-second recipes, and you think that's not how you've done that. This is not. It's not possible to make an aubergine look that good. Like, I think it's an eggplant for you guys. Not possible. You're lying to me.
Yeah, but I tell you what, it taught me how to make my perfect over easy eggs, which I Beck will tell you, I've been ruining those things for almost 20 years. And just in the last couple of months, I watched a stupid little video, and it told me to do two different little things in what I was doing, and they've been coming out like restaurant quality. I'm breaking my arm, patting myself on the back.
Yes,
well, blow me away. There is a use for them.
That's right. It's all in the application, I think. Yep.
So I wonder if we had the directive to go 7 more minutes, because we are doing that double show today, and we're just going to segue right into our next interviewer. or interview rather.
Interviewee.
Would you like to say anything else in closing?
I don't think I have anything else to say, really. Do you have any further questions or anything like that for me? Or are we good?
We could talk with you about the advice you give to family members to help them understand mental illness, family or friends.
Ooh, I try my hardest to tell people. This is going to sound really convoluted, but the biggest advice I tell people is kind of to not take advice. It sounds so bizarre, but I think we know our brains better than anyone else does, and provided you're listening to your body and your brain and you're doing what you need to, then I don't think you need other people's advice, particularly not unsolicited advice. I think it's good to maybe reach out and ask for help from people who have lived experience of it. But I mean, classic example, I think a couple of weeks ago, I, tweeted something on Twitter where I started with, other people who have PTSD, do you ever get the feeling of dread when you are going to meet up with kind of somebody who's a potential romantic partner or with a certain friend, even though you know that you're perfectly safe? And someone chimed in with, well, if you feel unsafe, you should never go and meet this person, and blah, blah. And, I was like, do you have PTSD? And they immediately no. And it's like, well, why are you weighing in on this? I've made it very clear that this is specifically to do with my mental illness, and you're just, this is just nonsense. Like, this is not a topic you need to weigh in on. And luckily, I obviously didn't phrase it like that. I said, this is specifically to do with the way my brain works and other people who are experiencing what I'm experiencing. And luckily the person understood and was quite respectful. I was surprised at how they were like, oh, okay, sorry. I'll chat to you another time or something like that. And I was quite happy about that, because usually I think you'd get a little bit of stick for telling someone to basically shut up. But I just can't understand. Everybody has a million opinions on everything these days. You see people men telling women what their life has been like, and white people telling people of color what their life has been like, and how to go about navigating the world. And how can you possibly know if you haven't lived that person's experience? It's ludicrous.
Exactly. I definitely agree. So
it's been an absolute delight talking to you today, Anneli. We were so glad to have you with us.
Yeah.
And did you have to get up early?
No, she didn't have to get up early.
No.
It's the afternoon over there.
It is. It's currently 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I forgot you're in the UK there for a minute. I don't know why. You have an accent, but
well, no, to her we have an accent. So, there's that.
But she's not the one who can't figure out where she is.
Well, my dear, thank you so much for tuning in and calling in and being with us. We're completely honored that you spent time with us today, and we love talking with you. And like we said, once you've got your podcast up and running,
give me a shout, and I'll see about getting you on to talk a little bit about it.
Yep.
Thank you. And thank you, and thank you for having me. You guys are my favorites.
Aw,
thank you.
Hang on the line. We're going to be scooting out of here with Coat of Armor from David Hernandez, and on the other side of that, we'll be talking with William. Stay tuned, guys.
Saw you fade to black, fell through cracks, fragile heart, broken dreams, consumed in pain, losing everything. And I never left your side, through all the tears you cried. I never let your side, and I'll be your shield. I'll be your shield when they come. You won't have to fear when bullets are raining one by one. I won't let you fall, I won't let you lay. This is the promise that I made, and I'll be your shield. I'll be your shield. I'll be your coat of armor, standing strong. Standing strong, standing strong. My light spreads across 1,000 miles. It'll always see you through these trials, no matter where it take you. I'll go where you tell me to. If that place is haunting you, count on me to see it through. And I'll be your shield. I'll be your shield when they come. You don't have to fear, no, when bullets are raining one by one. I won't let you fall, I won't let you break. This is the promise that I made. And I'll be your shield, I'll be your shield, I'll be your coat of armor, standing strong. Standing strong. And I'll be your shield, and I'll be your shield when they come. You won't have to fear, no, when bullets come raining one by one. I won't let you fall, I won't let you break. This is the promise that I made. And I'll be your shield, I'll be your shield, I'll be your coat of armor. Whoa. And I'll be your shield, and I'll be your shield when they come. You won't have to fear, no, when bullets come raining one by one. I won't let you fall, I won't let you break. This is the promise that I made. And I'll be your shield, I'll be your shield, I'll be your coat of armor. Yeah, I'll be your shield, I'll be your shield, I'll be your coat of armor. Standing strong.
Hey, good afternoon. Almost said morning. Good afternoon on this lovely, what the heck month is it?
May?
May, thank you.
It's gonna be May.
Oh, God.
Sorry, I do apologize for that. That was
You should. I'm
that
going
was
to slap you later.
oh, that was terrible.
Yeah,
That was
really bad.
yikes.
Anyway, we're glad to have you here in this.
Thanks for tuning in for hour 2.
Yeah, we are right about to start hour 2 of our
Cavalcade of I couldn't think of anything to put in there.
I
I'm
wasn't
sorry.
thinking about that. I was thinking about something else, but that's okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But we're really grateful to have the whole rest of the month of of May, we are having double guests every Saturday.
Yep.
So, and that is in observance of Mental Health Awareness Month. And in the UK, I don't know if it's over yet, but they had Mental Health Awareness Week as well. So
I think it ended today.
Okay.
I think it was this past week. I could be wrong, but I thought I saw online that it was this week was this past week was Mental Health Awareness Week over there.
Okay. Well, with us today we've got a true powerhouse with us, is what I would say. He has had this dream of creating something and was able to reach out and go take care of it and just handle his business. And because of that, he's got a film that's getting really good representation at different theaters.
He's got some pretty wide distribution.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and it's a great film. You know,
it was very good, and we're going to have him talk about that when we bring him in. But we're just really excited to have Mr. William Dickerson.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
It is our pleasure, and thanks for taking some time out of your busy Saturday to talk to us on our humble little show.
And please,
absolutely.
Please excuse my brain fog. I had a donut, and it has a lot of gluten in it.
the sugar wearing off.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's spacing a little, but but she's still cute as a Dickens.
I think funny.
Well, it's Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just so our listeners are aware, this will be a mostly Rebecca show, as I got to take off pretty soon to handle some business of my own.
Woo!
I don't
Back
know.
show.
Back show. Oh boy. And you with the brain fog.
Yeah, really.
You guys are in for a treat.
What is it, December?
No, it's not, honey. That's why the windows are open. Yeah.
It's Michigan. What do you expect?
May God have mercy on your soul, William.
Yeah, well. That's fun.
Yeah. So.
All right. So you gonna get going?
What time is it? It's almost 10 after. Yeah, maybe I better get things going. I'll tell you what though. I'll ask the first question. How's that?
Okay.
You cool with that?
Mm-hmm.
You let me do it? Okay, I will do it. So William, where does your mental health begin? It's a question we ask everybody.
Where does my mental health journey begin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been a long one. I mean, recently I've been dealing with depression, rather long-term depression, which I believe is called dysthymia disorder, where basically I've had a number of tragedies occur in my life, unfortunately, the past few years. One of which was my sister Brianna, who herself suffered from terrible mental illness. She was borderline personality disorder, diagnosed, and she wasn't diagnosed until much later into her condition. Which has happened to a lot of people who are borderline, because it has not become as common as it has become in the past 10 years. And she also was dual diagnosed with drug addiction, because she just got so used to being prescribed this drug or that drug, see how you feel after a month with this SSRI, and we'll take you off that, put you on this. So, I grew up with my sister and around mental illness my whole life, and since she died at the age of 30 of a drug overdose in 2014, it really just knocked the wind out of me. And not to mention that I've always wanted to make her story into a film. This movie is based on a book that I wrote in 2012, and a lot of it is her story. The main character is based on my sister, and obviously I'm sure we'll get more into the details later. But she was still alive when the book was published. When she died 2 years later, I felt like, well, I have to make this movie no matter what. And making a movie is a huge endeavor. I mean, it requires a lot of money.
Sure.
It really a lot of infrastructure and people. So the passing of my sister was as much motivation as I needed. So once I decided to make the movie, we ended up raising the money, shot in 2016, and completed it recently. Had a successful festival run, and now it's been distributed. But even with all the success, I'm still, I'm still grieving the loss of my sister, and I also just lost my father unexpectedly a few months ago. So it's been kind of a whirlwind of emotion.
I believe it. It's a lot to go through, and for sure.
I've lost two of my brothers to addiction.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, and we're sorry with what you went through with your sister. I hate to do this, but I got to run. William, it's been a pleasure talking with you and meeting with you. Likewise, and I will definitely catch you around the
interwebs.
The interwebs.
Yes, sir.
If you will. So
enjoy the rest of your day.
I'm going to try. Enjoy talking to my beautiful brain-fogged wife.
I will.
I'll catch up to you later, man. Take care.
Take it easy.
Bye, honey.
Bye, babe.
1 second. Alrighty, and we are back. So you had touched a little bit on your film in the first question, but I was wondering if you could sort of explain a little bit more for the listeners what No Alternative is.
Great. Well, it's a coming of age drama about teenagers in the early 1990s, and it focuses in on a brother and a sister. Brother Thomas Harrison, he's really determined to start his own alternative band after the suicide of Kurt Cobain, and it becomes an obsession that blinds him to what's either the mental collapse or the eruption of musical genius of his little sister Bridget. Bridget just rejects the entire alternative trend of the time and takes on the persona of a hardcore gangster rapper named Brita B. So it's essentially these two very similar but very different people pursuing their own musical aspirations to kind of deal with their own respective inner turmoils.
Okay. Well, that sounds very interesting. I'm sorry about my throat.
Yeah, no problem.
This happens to me a lot, and people have been telling me I need to do throat exercises or something.
Well, maybe, or some honey.
Oh, my goodness. So what was your primary decision, or reason for wanting to make a movie?
Well, I've been making movies my entire life, basically. I grew up as a movie lover, and once I got my hands on my grandfather's hand-me-down camcorder, when I was in 6th grade, I recorded everything. Instead of doing book reports, I would do movies. Thank God my teachers let me do that. If they didn't, I don't know where I'd be today. But, I just got obsessed with filming everything. I studied film in college, and I went to the American Film Institute for my master's in 2004. And ever since then, I've been making films. No Alternative is my 4th movie, but it's also been the movie that I've always wanted to make. Ever since probably around 2006 or 2007, I've been really focused on making this particular film because it's inspired by real people. Right? Bridget is based on my sister, Brianna. The parents are based on my parents. The Thomas character, loosely based on me. Because we watched the film, there are a lot of things that happened that didn't happen to me, but there are some that did. So it's not exactly autobiographical, but it's very much in tune with the truth of how people in my life experienced mental illness and what we were doing in the 90s. Because I feel like the early 90s was a really special time for pop culture. Particularly in movies and music. It was also a kind of time where, the baby boomers kids were growing up and they were supposed to be fine. Like, oh, everything's great. The white picket fences, our generation is going to do better than the last generation. But I think along with that came just a blanket ignorance, with respect to feeling and emotion. And it was a time where I think if you're a teenager and you're having trouble perhaps mentally, you felt ashamed to kind of come out and talk about it.
Right.
Whereas the music, it was the first time really where the music of the time really focused in on depression and mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like grunge as a style really illuminated the darker emotions that I think teenagers couldn't or didn't want to express, and I think that's why they were drawn to that music. I mean, you look at Nirvana and In Utero, for example. That album, in hindsight, every song almost reads like a quasi-suicide note. I mean, it's so depressing. It's like death is calling us, man. And we didn't realize it at the time, or maybe we did, but we didn't, think that he would actually kill himself. But it was an interesting time. And now I want to use that time as a lens to shine a light on the problem now, which I think is unfortunately growing worse. I mean, suicide rates are, I think, the highest they've ever been in 25 years or something. So, I think while the movie is a piece of entertainment, the underlying motivation behind it is for me to show as best I can mental illness in a realistic way, at least the realistic way that I experienced it and continue to experience it in my life, in an effort to get people to just be more open to talk about it and have movies represent mental illness in a more authentic way, which I don't think they, largely they haven't. No, done that.
They don't. Every married couple, the man always finds out that the woman is crazy and she's got bipolar disorder. That's everybody's go-to excuse right now for how somebody is acting irrationally. It's all they're bipolar. Which is really aggravating to me.
It's so narrow. I mean, it's beyond narrow-minded. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're right. I mean, it's people kind of because mental illness and suicide is still so taboo and people don't want to talk about it. When they see it in movies, they see like shorthand, like, okay, well, here's the quote unquote crazy person who won't, who is just off the wall, or it's the other person who's so introspective they don't even say a word the whole time. There are no shades of gray in between. So we've been conditioned as a culture to think that those are the representations of mental illness, whatever those mental illnesses are, and it perpetuates these stereotypes, but which is problematic. Because it gives people an out. Like, oh, I don't have to talk about it. I know what that is. I don't need to investigate it more. I kind of know it. But they don't, right? If people actually were more proactive in terms of, like, okay, well, what's this? This person has an issue. Let me dive deeper. What is actually going on? Because as you know, I mean, there are a variety of different mental illnesses with a variety of different spectrums of symptoms and conditions, but we just don't take the time to really investigate and help people the way we should.
Unfortunately, the general population has taken that and kind of run with it, like they don't have to care about anything, and it's kind of, again, frustrating. Especially.
No, it is. I mean, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, you're right. Like, for instance, just a quick example, but a small amount of people truly know what borderline personality disorder is. But I can't tell you how many people who I would talk to, people who I know and respect who are smart, they would constantly, we'd be talking about borderline, then they say bipolar disorder. It's like, no, it's not bipolar disorder. I know it's BPD, the same letters, but totally different. Or they misrepresent it by saying, oh, it's split personality, multi-personality disorders. Like, it can be any more different.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just a total lack of clarity because people just don't want it to be clear. They just, they want to avoid the subject as much as possible.
It's easier just to remember the bad stuff, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And my sister was borderline. A lot of borderline people are extremely creative and are wonderful artists. And she was a wonderful artist. Not only she was a musician and did her rap thing, she was also a wonderful painter. She never really got acknowledgement for that. And that's sad because she wasn't really she knew she was good, but because of her illness, she was always stymied by it. Like she was convinced that it was terrible, and no one would like this stuff. So I'm not going to pursue it any further. You know.
Yeah, I get that completely. I'm both borderline and bipolar, which I had to look into because there were so many people that approached me and said, "Oh, you can't be both. You can't be both." Yeah. And I went to my doctor and I said, "Look, these people are telling me that there is no such thing as someone having both." And she's like, "There absolutely is, and it's you. You're one of those people." So
yeah, sure.
It's very difficult.
You know, I don't doubt it. I mean, you know, obviously I saw firsthand how borderline affected my sister's life, and it's, you know, I mean, it's often hard to explain, but the way that I sort of see it is, you know, I mean, you can be, if you're borderline, I mean, you want relationships, you want you want to be able to interact and be social, and you're actually you can do that easily. I mean, it comes easily to you. But once you attain what you want, relationships and the love that you've been seeking, immediately, I mean, in my sister's case, she would flip it and say, okay, well now, why do they can't like me? Why would they like me? They have to, you know. She would get very paranoid as to what their motivations were for being friends with her, and because of that, she would basically hurt them, push them away, and just like, I can't, you know, I don't deserve friends. Like, this is crazy. You're making my life worse. So it was just like an endless cycle of attracting people, having relationships, and then pushing them away. And, you know, having a family member who's borderline is very difficult, especially if you don't understand it at first, because, you know, family's pushed away too, but you're family, so you don't go away.
Right. Yeah.
It's a cycle of pain sometimes, right? If it's not treated properly.
Yeah. For sure. Out of curiosity, how old was she when she passed?
She was 30 years old.
Okay.
And she had been treated for mental illness since she was about 11, I think. And this was in the early 90s when it was the beginning of the surge of new drugs like, you know, Prozacs and Zolofts and all that stuff. And she got addicted to drugs really quickly. And, you know, I think people have started to, or doctors have kind of started to realize that giving those types of really strong, powerful drugs to children like under the age of like 16 or 17, while their brains are still developing, can really lead to a lot more problems than fixing them. And I'm convinced that that led to her hopeless addiction to drugs. Because as you know, I mean, borderline, I mean, it's primarily treated through talk therapy and DBT. You know, it's drugs can complicate it a great deal.
Yeah, I actually have bought a couple of workshops, and I bought a course online. I'm going to learn DBT and CBT on my own because I tried it in a group setting, and I was not comfortable at all.
Yeah.
So I figure, what the heck? And there's people online that have gone through it that I could, you know, ask them, hey, you know, what do I do for this? I don't get this, and I'm sure that they would help. So
absolutely. I mean, it helped my sister to an extent, but it takes a lot of, you know, you got to be proactive. It's a lot of work. It really is a lot of work, but I've seen a lot of positive results.
It's good to hear. We don't always hear the most positive results for folks on here, so it's good to know.
Yeah. Now, like you said, I mean, people may, you know, unfortunately, society isn't in such a place where the idea of mental illness or people with mental illness is mostly seen in a negative light, and that's unfortunate.
So, speaking of mental illness in your family, do you think that it's something hereditary? Have previous generations have it?
You know, that's a really good question. I mean, I've heard that borderline personality can be genetic. I have to feel like my father was suffering with something, but he never got. I mean, that generation never got it checked out. Lots of lots of high highs, low lows, instability. Brilliant man, but lots of instability. And I know that his mother had similar issues, but he also lost track of his family after or beyond, I think, his great grandmother. So if I had to guess, I think there's probably something hereditary on that line. But it's all guessing. But look, it's, mental illness doesn't just magically happen to you. I mean, it's a physical malady. I mean, people seem to forget that the brain is part of the physical body. So yes, I mean, if it's a physical issue, there's a very good possibility that it could be passed down. So I wouldn't discount that possibility.
Okay. Well, I'm being informed that we need to take a quick break. So if you just hang out there, this is Matt Stern with Your Magic.
You are the best thing. You hold my heart inside your hands. Your magic. You make me crazy. Your touch, it makes me lose my head. It's tragic. It's all over. That's what you said. It's all finished. Gonna lay in bed and tell your friends. They can leave when they want to. If this feeling has gone to your head, nobody but me sees you like I see you. Nobody can see you like I do. Let me hold you. I can try to help, can sit here by you. When you're overwhelmed, can remind you that you're worth so much more when you feel like you're losing control. And nobody but me sees like I see you. Nobody can see you like I do. Yeah. So softly, come a little closer. You can feel safe here. I'll show you where, so gently. You are the best thing. You hold my heart inside your hands. Your magic, magic. You make me crazy. Your touch, it makes me lose my head. It's tragic. Magic, yeah. You are the best thing. You hold my heart inside your hands. Your magic, magic. You make me crazy. Your touch, it makes me lose my head. It's tragic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Voices for Change 2.0. We are really glad to have you with us, or I should say I am really glad to have you with us. No, with me. Geez, I'm just on a roll today, aren't I? Anywho,
Indeed.
Husband had to go out for a little bit, so I'm taking over the show. If he gets up, we'll all get up. It'll be anarchy. So the Breakfast Club line. So, okay, so where do I begin with you here? I did have a kind of a, I don't know if you consider it sort of a strange question, but it's something that I've always been curious about. When you started making the film, was it top? How much time did it take, top to bottom? Like, how many months or what have you?
Yeah, well, it's so this is an independent film, so there's no studio involved with the production of it, which means I basically had to raise the money myself. So you have the raising money part. It started out as a crowdfunding campaign, and I never wanted to do a crowdfunding campaign because it's just it's kind of akin to, I mean, it's great, but it's kind of akin to begging for money in a way, and I hate to do that. But I felt like if I was going to do it for anything, this project would be it, because it's essentially a memorial to my sister, right? Crystallizing her on screen, and also it gives me an opportunity through the film and through my campaigning to talk more about mental illness and to just help in the fight to end the stigma, to participate in that. And it was great. I mean, we raised a decent amount of money online, and it was enough money to attract outside investors. We raised our budget. I mean, it was a small budget, relatively speaking, but enough to make the movie. Once we raised the money, that took about a year doing that. And then we started shooting in 2016 with, it actually started very quickly. We had about 3 months of pre-production. Started in October, ended in November. It was a 21-day shoot with weekends off. And so it's very compressed. And that's not a lot of time at all to shoot a movie like this. It has a lot of locations, a lot of actors. Then once that was done, it took me about a year to edit the film, which is very long. That's extraordinarily long. But since I basically
really tedious.
Yeah, like for instance, on a director for hire movie that I was on before this, I only got 6 to 8 weeks because there's a production company they have. And this is for a movie I made for the Lifetime Movie Network, and they also had an air date. So, it had to be done at a certain time. But since I basically controlled this movie from top to bottom, I could take as long as I wanted. And I felt like for this film, because it's a dual point of view between Thomas and Bridget, there's a balancing act to play in the editing process. And we also had several test screenings where we showed the film to a theater of people. They would give us feedback, and then we would take that feedback and recut it. And it was a long process, but it was definitely worth doing that. So after that year was over, we did color correction and sound design. That was about 3 or 4 months. And then we did the festival route. We submitted the films to festivals. That was another year. And in the middle of that year, we sought distribution. We were able to get distribution through Gravitas Ventures, they're a great distributor. They have the largest reach in North America as far as digital platforms go. And then we were eventually released on this past April 2nd. So let's see, April 2nd, 2019. And actually it was around April or March of 2015. So it's a good 4-year process.
Yeah, wow. I admire that, because I honestly don't know if I could have kept that up for all that time.
It's difficult. I mean, if this movie wasn't as personal as it was to me, it would be much more difficult to maintain that level of dedication and enthusiasm, because it really, it's a 24/7 job, and it's very stressful because you have a lot of money that's being spent, other people's money that's being spent in a fairly rapid fire way. I mean, every shoot day, I can't even tell you how many thousands of dollars it is like per day. I mean, and you have to get these shots, and anything could happen. An actor might be having a bad day, or the light's not right, or something breaks, someone doesn't show up. And there's always something that goes wrong, but you have to be prepared to improvise and do as best as you can. And it's kind of a pressure cooker environment in a way.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by the backstage goings on at films. I just when I see a movie like that, I'm always like really, really paying attention to all the different aspects, and who does what, and who's helping the actor on stage or what have you. So that had to have been kind of a lot of fun, knowing that you had this whole group of people together to work on your movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's, you know what, it's the making of that's really the best part, because you all become like a family on set.
Right.
Because it's not like an ordinary job. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It's like your day is 12 hours, but there's hours before and hours after. You're dreaming the movie, you're living the movie. You know, you're trying to elicit emotion on screen, so it's like it's not all business. There's a personal aspect of the job, and everybody becomes very close. And I became very close with the actors, particularly the younger actors, who are channeling my sister and channeling me and my friends. It was really interesting because, I kind of had a firsthand glimpse into reliving my past, which is very bizarre in many ways, and also quite cool. So what advice would you give to family members that have gone through this, or someone that has threatened that they might take their own life, or just sort of broad stroke it? What do you think is the best thing that they can do? Wow, there's no tried and true right thing to do, but
right.
I think the best thing to be done, I want to say preempted in a way where you grow up in a household where you make sure to tell your children, right? I just had a baby. I was 18 months right now. So I'll be obviously, supervising his growth and any potential physical or mental conditions he might be going through. So, I think just encouraging your entire family to be as open as possible. Like, if you're feeling these urges, or you're feeling depressed, or anything that you have a hard time expressing, or you might feel ashamed for some odd reason, that should be the reason to talk about it. And before it gets to a place where everything is just built up inside, you can't take it anymore. Obviously, it's not a cure-all talking about it, but it really does limit the effect to a certain extent. Because if you feel like you have other people around you who understand, that helps. There's no doubt about it. That helps. For someone who is, let's say that didn't happen. If someone comes out and says I'm suicidal, well, first of all, they have to say that, right? If they don't, maybe it's a suicide attempt. For instance, like my sister tried to commit suicide several times before she actually died, and these times, man, she would always really do a good job. Unfortunately, she just put herself in a coma twice. The one time the doctor said he couldn't believe that her heart held up. She was within 5 minutes of dying. And I remember I was there one time when she woke up out of her coma, and I was like beside myself. And I was younger and more naive to the subject of mental illness. I was like, why you keep doing this? Like this, like why are you doing this? And she just said, in her most soberest of moments, because all the drugs have passed through her system, she said, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to live anymore. So part of that is the perception of the world around you. And if there's any way you can help someone's perception of the world be a little bit brighter, a little bit more comfortable, or just be there for support. Like, hey, if you want to see someone, I can go with you. Let's do the research together. Any time you're feeling anything, any time of night, call me. It's that hand to hand, person to person support that I think is crucial.
Yeah, definitely. And there's also a service out there on Twitter. Just a little side note, they are at MH Crisis Angels. Double check to make sure that's right. They have several angels on their team, and they will let you message them through Facebook, and they'll say, hey, do you want to take it into a private room? And they will, and then they have a big long discussion about it. And so I'm pretty sure it's Mental Health Crisis Angels is what it is. And I just sort of joined forces with them a little bit to work my way up to possibly being one of the people that takes calls. But right now I'm just kind of in the background helping with tweeting and stuff like that.
That's right. No, actually, I'm looking at it right now. We're following each other on Twitter. I realize. Yep. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I mean, that's it's critical, you know. And again, just the idea of suicide is among the top 10 leading causes of death in America. The statistics are every 15 minutes someone commits suicide. I mean, that is of epidemic proportions. So why, as a society, are we still worried about talking about it? Why can't we talk about it as though we're talking about cancer, right? Or a broken bone? There should be no stigma attached to it, right? It's really sad, but I think we're moving in the right direction, but it's still going much, much slower than I would like it to go.
Yeah, I definitely feel you there. I had, when I first signed up I'd been on Twitter previously. I stopped for a while because I didn't get it. I did not understand hashtags. I had no idea what these people were talking about. So somebody explained it to me a little bit, so I started up an account on there. And I think that might have been 2014, if I'm not mistaken. And before I came on there, I felt really, really alone. And once I started talking to people, and it might be hard. Like, for anybody that's listening who doesn't know how to do that, just listen for a little while. Just listen real closely to what the person has to say. And you never know. Tomorrow you might be able to find them online again, and he'll have an informed decision, to have a discussion with this person, and who knows where it can go. Yeah. So it's very important.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, the internet has both its great sides and terrible sides, right? But I think one of its great sides is the ability to, find yourself out there. Like, the thing is, when we feel so alone, we have those moments, right? We convinced ourselves that no one else is like that. No one else is feeling this. This is only me. But there are other people that have been and are in that situation. And if you communicate or are able to communicate with people who are going through what you're going through, there's power in numbers, right? That helps, right? Just knowing that other people are experiencing what you're experiencing, and that if they can get through it, you can, And I think communicating through social media, in that regard, it can be fantastic and a real lifesaver.
Yeah, I agree. You have to be careful of some of them, but for the most part, in my experience, the first time I got on there to talk about stuff, I had some trolls and saying guy. When I made the mistake of having my birth date on there, and one guy called me an old lady. Look, at that time I was 42 years old. I hardly consider myself an old lady. Yeah. So, and I've been called a narcissist too. That's always fun.
Oh, great. Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's so easy to complain online, and it's
behind
and having
computers.
Well, yeah, exactly. I've been going through similar things with the movie. When you put yourself out there, whether it's through advocacy like you're doing, or me putting out a film or a book, there are going to be many more people who are complaining about things because they just want to take you down, as opposed to just saying positive things. Usually the positive people they don't have time for that, or they're just enjoying other things. It's just, it's a strange phenomenon, unfortunately, but it's, we just have to learn to ignore those types of people. They're basically looking for attention. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. If you're not dedicating all of your attention to them, then you're a horrible person.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So tell us what is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, what is next for you?
Wow, that's a really good question. I mean, I've been so just immersed in the film, and I also there's the soundtrack to the movie came out on vinyl, which is super cool. And the book that it was based on, there's going to be the revised version of it coming out next week, actually. So I've been promoting like mad. I haven't really had much time to think about what's next. I do have several screenplays I would love to make into a film. I do have some producers interested in one of my projects currently, so I'm pursuing that when I'm not marketing this. But in the world of independent film, you're really we don't have a big studio behind us, so so much of the word of mouth and the promotion is coming from the filmmakers themselves. So it's that in of itself is a full-time job, which is fine, and there are several windows of release. Like, so it was released on TVOD, which is transactional VOD, like you could rent or buy on iTunes or Amazon, etc., Google Play, or your cable provider, and then it was out on DVD and Blu-ray, and then 60 to 90 days after the first window, it goes to streaming. So like if you have Amazon Prime or Hulu and whatnot, it'll be on the streaming service. And that when that happens, that'll be another promotional push. So it's just kind of a strategic, grassroots effort to get the word out. And as you know, I mean, that's in and of itself, it's a full-time job.
Right, exactly. I can't argue with you there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we are just about getting down to the wire here.
All right.
Do you want to talk about your social media and how people can find you?
Absolutely. Well, my handle is WD Filmmaker, and you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can also follow the movie. It's called No Alternative, and at No Alt Film, NOALTFILM. That's on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And you can watch the movie on iTunes or Amazon. You can rent or buy it today. The soundtrack is on vinyl. It's available at your local record store. And the book, No Alternative, the novel with the new foreword by Harry Hamlin, comes out next Tuesday, exclusively on Amazon.
I am very interested in the new copy of the book. I actually had to do that with mine. I had to do that with mine. Yeah. It came out one way with this quote-unquote publisher who turns out he totally screwed me. And we had to turn around and do it all ourselves and sell it, through Amazon that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun.
Yeah, it is. I mean, again, it's like the internet and social media they've provided a way, they've given voice to a lot of independent artists in a way that is unprecedented, and it's fantastic, right? People are able to get their voices out there in ways that they've never been able to before.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely see more openness with just everything. I feel like people are more compassionate, and this is just my experience. Like, and I always name Twitter as one of the things, but it's funny. There could be someone that's really, really struggling, and then they come upon your post that says you're really struggling, and that person might say, "Hey, are you okay?" Even though they're going through something, Yeah. So I think it's very important that we all, keep that up and continue to help people.
So absolutely. And as much as I can do, I'm trying to be as open as possible with my experience and with my family, with myself, and because again, the more people are open to talking about mental illness or mental illness related issues, the easier it will be for everybody else to talk about it, and hopefully it'll become. I want to get to that point where people can actually say, hey, I'm calling into work today because I'm suffering from my depression. It's pretty bad today. They should be able to say that in such a way as though they're talking about the flu, right? I have the flu today, but we're still pretty far from that being equal, but
Yeah,
there's no reason why it should be equal.
Mhm.
You know.
I totally agree with you. But we are at the end of our time now. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining, me.
Yes. Well,
As you
thank you
hear
so
my
much
husband a little bit, but
yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on, and I really appreciate what you guys do. So keep on trucking.
well, thank you. And if anything comes down the pike for you that you want to talk about, just give me a message and we'll try to get you on.
Sounds fantastic.
Okay, thanks so much. Have a good rest of your weekend.
Thanks, Rebecca. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Baby blue.